What is going down, YouTube town? It's your boy Captain Retro, and I am here with my homeboy EmceeMur, and we are going to do some talking retro. Greetings from EmceeMur. I think it's episode 4. Am I wrong? Are we 4 into this now?
That sounds right.
Sure. Numbers. I'm not good with them. We have not actually hung out physically in a little bit, and I miss hanging out with my buddy, and we hadn't played any games together in a minute. It's been harrowing and quite some time since I've seen your face in person. And I apologize. That's as much my doing as it is your doing, sir.
It's more my doing. I'm a busy guy.
You are a busy guy, and much love goes out to your family through the trying times that you're having with the recent losses, and we don't need to go into that too deep if you don't want to, but I just,
yeah,
I'm there for you, buddy. Hard times. I'm sorry.
Appreciate that.
Let's see here. Let's start it off with your topic. We had some topics we wanted to discuss and talk about today and get out off our chests. And I also wanted to go over some of my plans and my thoughts and see what the community of people who actually watch us and listen to us and think what we have to say is cool, think about some things. So let's get that out of the way here first and have Murr, we'll go with your topic there. You had something you wanted to talk about, so let's do it.
Yeah, my most recent thing on the board is the steady decline that we're seeing in the values of uncommon to common PS2 and original Xbox games. One can argue that it's just their time. Game systems games goes through a garbage period. And in one aspect, that's a good thing. Because, you can look back toward around the year 1999, the year 2000, Nintendo NES was experiencing their garbage period. And I bought up so much at like 99 cents a pop, and I would do it again. Now, it's not gotten quite that bad. But for instance, it's gotten to where maybe a Need for Speed title that used to be $10, you're lucky to get 5 for it. Common stuff has just really dropped in value, to the point where it's not even worth reselling if you have extras to get rid of, or it's just cost too much to ship it, so there would be nothing left at the end.
Right.
So more interesting than the fact that it's just actually happening would be the why. Has anything contributed to this? Is there a saturation of the market, or is it just time for these games to have their garbage period? And if you're wondering why I keep looking to the other direction, I'm still in training on Bionic Commando as of my embarrassment last night, where I was able to get to the end of the game, but not in the time that I saw acceptable. Of my full and undivided attention, your rebuttal, please.
I can't give you reason. I'm not an economist. I'm not a price speculator. I can't give you reasons why things aren't going back and forth in the market there, or why they're trending downwards, at least in the PlayStation. You said PS1, PS2, Xbox. I guess original Xbox 2 is possibly in that with the PS2.
Yeah, original Xbox and PS2 is mainly what I'm seeing the big problem in. And, I don't want to sound like a smelly seller of any kind when I discuss this topic either. But everybody knows that to be in this business and to fund large collections, you're going to end up with piles of stuff that get bundled in with piles of stuff. If you don't sell some of it, you're not going to get money back to go out and do it all again. Now, you hope that number is larger than smaller. But when you get into it to where you're making valuations on entire lots of things based on a number that at this point is fictitious, sometimes you get these nasty surprises when you get home and it's like, wait a minute, these were $10 games. Today they're $5, and if you sell them, you can't even ship them because there'd be nothing left.
Right.
That's a harsh reality at some point. The decline in the value of it.
We do work in a speculative market. There is a bubble that definitely is growing and shrinking on all things at all times. I believe every system has its, like you said, its heyday, or it's going to have a peak point of collectability and value, and then it's going to have a severe drop off for most titles, with the exception being the super rare and the super hard to find stuff. So, and
that is one thing that has not faltered. I mean, the rare, if anything, has gone up in value just simply because
right,
the market's not flooded. There are not millions of copies of a game like that, whereas a game like Need for Speed or a San Andreas, of course, there's tons of them out there.
Right.
But they've taken a big dump, and it's like, you can talk about how the garbage period like I mentioned with the NES period, is a good thing for the buyers, becomes the buyer's market. But the thing is anybody actually buying these things?
No, I mean,
I have a lot of stuff just sitting there that, I would gladly trade or sell, but there's just nobody wants these things anymore. So this is really a new low for a garbage period. Or did I just not perceive that it was that low in the NES period because I've always loved NES? You know what I'm saying?
right. Again, I only collect for what I want, and I'm not a full collector of anything. So I don't buy the shit. I don't, when I find the shit that I know is shit, and it's intentionally bought to flip for a profit. So to fund the things that I do want to own. You know what I mean? So
right.
I haven't, honestly, like I said, I haven't sold anything again, really. I mean, I've sold some stuff online here and there. I'm making some sales online of lower end things, but I really haven't noticed the market on Amazon is so much different than, I know you deal mainly on eBay. And,
yeah.
I sent you an email the other day. I'm selling fucking Guitar Hero Legends of Rock 3, whatever the hell it is. Legends of Rock 2? Maybe it's 3.
Yeah.
Guitar Hero.
I thought of you the other day because
I found that motherfucker for almost $20. Like, it's fucking retarded. Like, so I don't see. I only grab stuff that I know is selling, and then when I see what it's selling for on Amazon is where I base my, like, that's what it's worth to me. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, price charting says this. Yeah, eBay has this sold and that sold, but what's the lowest one going for on Amazon right now? And if it's worth it to me to pick it up and flip it, then I will. You know.
And then you got to wonder how long you sit on it. But either way, as long as if you get it eventually, then you get it.
That's very, very true. I have sat on things for longer than a year or two. You know what I mean?
But sometimes you have to. That's part of it.
There are things in the garage right now that have been over a year, definitely, and that I have absolutely no use for and would never play. So, but that's the yin and the yang of what we do, man. If you want to make your collection affordable, and especially if you have a family, like, you have to go with it, get as many deals as you can and find as many deals as are out there to make what you want as cheap as possible to personally own. And I think that's about anything in life. Cars, houses, you know what I mean? Like, everybody's trying to get the best deal on everything.
Yeah, it's not free. You got to be able to pay for the habit. And I think a lot of people take issue with people reselling things, but they do it too. Don't lie.
I don't know one pot dealer that doesn't smoke his own stash. You know what I mean? Like, there's not one guy.
Well, people that collect their games, that collect games like we do, and then they're going to try to come off like, oh, I don't sell nothing. Yeah, you do, dude. Yeah, you do. I mean, think about how many dupes of certain games you've gotten in your lifetime. What would you do with all of them? Wallpaper a house? You're going to sell. You're going to resell.
That Zelda sculpture that I sent you on offer up the other day. Remember that thing? The guy.
Oh my God!
The only two that were, actual Zelda games were the two that had the labels on them still, thank God. And the rest of them were sports games he had painted gold. So
nice.
Still,
I feel better. I'll sleep better at night knowing that.
But maybe I'll go back in and edit this later if I could find that picture. I might be able to find that picture while I'm talking about it, because it's ridiculous what that human being did to a bunch of Nintendo games. I want to show that to people. So let me see if I can find that. All photos. He called it art, and he was asking like $150 for it, and it broke my heart to look at it. And that's what people are doing. You know what I mean? You're going to have to do shit like that eventually, or you're just going to have stacks of dusty old turds that nobody's going to ever want to play, and they're doing nothing for you sitting in your garage. You know what I mean? You're going to have to turn them into art.
So it's important to think about how the market gets where it gets, and is that something that will exist in a state of perpetuity? Is that something that's going to change? Everything that has a garbage period eventually comes back up. And we're seeing that obviously with NES stuff now. Stuff that was 99 cents. I mean, a lot of it averages as much as $10 now, even for common stuff. There's people trying to get that for Mario Duck Hunt cartridges. It's just funny.
Right.
How it happens. And you wonder, does it happen in the same time ranges for every console? Not exactly the same, but you know what I mean. Is it relative? I mean, is it like a certain amount of years before something becomes collectible to that degree? I don't know. I'm speculating.
Yeah, again, I can't tell you what makes it, what makes it, that valuable. I can't give you all the factors for all the reasonings behind all the stuff that happens, but I can say that things go in cycles and it's cyclical as to like every 15 years or so, something else is going to come back in a style that used to be kind of in style for whatever group it may have been in style for. It's kind of with everything in life. It's clothes to fucking shoes. I mean, I guess that's the same thing as clothes, but like clothes do that, and personal, like trinkets, like hairstyles and stuff like that. I mean, stuff comes and goes and comes back and style. Everything. Our culture is very recyclable. Is that a word to use for it? I mean, people think, and malleable as well. People take things and 5 years later, there's this thing that used to be like this, but now it's like this, and check this thing out. You know what I mean? Things change and evolve, but nothing ever dies, really. It all comes back. We were doing swing.
Eventually, somebody wants it back. We all get nostalgic for different things at different times.
Right. I remember doing swing dancing in the late 90s. You know what I mean? Like the Cherry Poppin' Daddies and different bands like that were popping the scene, and like it was all this swing dancing that was from 1930s. Like none of our generation or our parents' generation. It was from a generation, our grandparents' generation. You know what I mean? Or our great grandparents' generation. The swing dancing movement that went through, and like there's just, you know what I mean? Stuff like that happens, and you can't. I think it's just it's like a wave at a baseball stadium. You know what I mean? Sometimes it starts up and it gets going, it falls apart before it gets to left field. But sometimes it makes it around the stadium 5 or 6 times before it stops, and then it comes back again 6 innings later. You know what I mean? Like the shit like that happens in life. The wave just keeps coming and going. And that might be because.
Can you explain to me why it took me an hour last night to get to the end of Bionic Commando?
I can tell you this. I can't beat no fucking Bionic Commando in an hour, bro. I haven't played that game in a long time, but I remember it being one of the harder games on the NES, and there's no password system or anything to it, right? It's get through it or don't. It's get through it or don't game.
Yep.
So, yeah, you must be a badass Bionic Commando if you can get through it within an hour or a little over an hour even. That's ridiculous, dude.
Well, not to change the subject, I was just thinking out loud, but there are people that do it faster by skipping levels. I 100% it in 41 minutes. 41 minutes sounds like a long time to some people.
We have a guy watching from...
but they're skipping levels.
We have a guy watching from Trinidad. Sorry to interrupt. Kevin B. Hall from watching from Trinidad. He says... here in the third world, I was retro by force for a long time. He had to be retro because that's all he could get was old stuff. Playing Phantasy Star 4 and Landstalker while others were playing Seaman. I guess
Seaman.
Seaman. That's Dreamcast, right? With Nimoy.
Yeah. Yeet, Seaman.
I have Mario 3 game complete in box, but there's a seller's price sticker for $2. Made me laugh. Someone bought it for $2 back in the day. Yeah, that's, Andy's got stacks of games like that that he was buying in the late 90s and early 2000s at places that were getting rid of retro games. Don't you, buddy? Your 99-cent scores and your fucking...
Yeah, it was a lunchtime ritual for me. I would go to the Funko land on lunchtime, which is now a GameStop, of course, because in the future, everything will be GameStop, just like everything's Taco Bell and Demolition Man.
Or Think Geek.
Or that. But yeah, I mean, all the NES stuff was 99 cents. Can't beat it.
Although I'm sure playing Seaman has its charm. Seaman does have its charm. I played Seaman. I thought it was kind of neat. It was like Tamagotchi, but with the talking thing,
I've never had a run at Seaman. I can honestly say that.
I will say that as a seller, I do go to conventions and set up a booth and sell games at them. There's a demand. There is definitely a demand for video games, and it's not artificial. It seems to be grassroots, man. Every town I've gone to now, in Florida, in Texas, in Philadelphia, or Pennsylvania, it's all been people that were looking for stuff I had, and were looking at every other table in the place too. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, not a vendor went through there that didn't do good at any of those places. You know what I mean? So I know that it's hot right now, and it has been hot for a while, and it's going to probably continue to stay that way. You can only it's only going to decrease the supply. You know what I mean? The demand might falter and wane and come back and forth, but the supply is eventually going to dry up. So
yeah, because you got to think eventually everybody's got what they want and they're not going to sell it. I mean, there's plenty of stuff I'm never going to sell. I'm just never going to sell it.
Well, that's the thing, though. What happens?
I didn't buy it to sell it.
What happens when I'm just speaking on a crazy whim here, but you and your wife get divorced and she takes half and wants everything, and you got to sell all those games to pay some bills to her. Something crazy like that happens. You know what I mean? Like that could happen. It's happened to people. They lose their. That's how shit gets back out into the wild, and that's how the cycle keeps staying alive. Is people eventually have to sell their stuff for the most part, or someone sells it for them. Molly will be selling your stuff after you're gone. You know what I'm saying? Or something like that. She might hold on to it forever herself because she's crazy like that.
She'll hold on to it forever.
Well,
if there's one collection in the world that's safe, it's mine. Because my wife and I are happily married, and my kids know that they're getting this stuff passed on to them. So
well, I'm just saying, I'm just speaking.
Unless they bury me with it in a pyramid. But yeah, I know what you're saying. Hypothetically, there's probably a lot of people who lose their stuff that way. And
Jay from the fucking Game Chasers, his wife took his games. And
really? I didn't know that.
Watch their first or second episode of all time. Like he talks about it on there that she wanted to. He kept not answering questions. She was like, "What about those games?" And he just kept his mouth shut and like was trying to get away with not having to give her the box of games. Apparently, when she took half or more, because that's what they do. Really,
that's terrible.
There's more than half going out there. But anyway, yeah. I mean, the market is what the market is, and we both. I don't say we live or die by it. I definitely do other things to bring in an income, but. I do know this. The first 2 weeks of summer have been shit for online sales. The first 3 weeks of summer have been shit for online sales. So sales are down.
Be all the way around, even for finding things. I've had a few weeks in a row.
Had I not gone up to too many games 2 weeks ago and had some fun and sold some shit, it'd have been a bad month for Kevin. On the money making end of bringing in video game money for what I do. So
right.
But with that being said, I did go up there. I made a good little stack of cash, and I was able to pick up some other stuff that I wanted to get. We'll go ahead and jump into that. Why not?
Do it.
These are the pickups from too many games, you guys. I know I kind of briefly went over what I got a hold of there in the last episode. If anybody is still watching, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not looking at the comments. I apologize. You're right, Woodbury, and it will dry the fuck up. My pickups from too many games is not a whole bunch of stuff, but it's a bunch of cool stuff. Okay. So a while back, me and Chris Miller made some trades, and I sent him an Aztec Adventure for something, and I decided I wanted that back.
Oh, that's a good one.
So I picked this up for like $7, dude, complete at too many games.
Look for me to do a playthrough on that one. That's one that, oh, God, that's tough. Man, I'll take you through it. It's quite a game.
I played a little bit of the other one I had, but Chris was looking for a copy, so I traded it off to him for something, and now I've got it back again. Because that's what it happens. If it goes away, it'll come back. You know what I mean? It's all boomerang shit.
Yep.
Wonder Boy 3, I picked up an even prettier copy of this than I had before.
That's pretty.
I ended up actually selling one up there. I took one up there with me to sell, and it got sold in a box of stuff with a guy. And then later on that day, I found a prettier one, and I want to say it was only like $30, something like that, $25 to $30, something like that, sitting on the guy's shelf. So I took it. Wampum, complete in the box. Never played Wampum.
Oh man, yeah.
Never played this.
I'll tell you right now, I do not have Wampum. When we were kids, we had it.
Yes, you're allowed to drink. Sorry, go ahead, Andy.
We had it when we were kids because it was a game that got picked up because I think that my mom thought it was something Emily would be into, but we didn't know what it was. I got into it and was just like, oh my God, it's an Indian Mega Man. Done.
That's what it looks like. It says, choose your own adventure, grapple evil beasts at the end of each world, 7 powerful magical objects, fight your way through 8 complete worlds. It looks Mega Man-y. And I like the cover. So I've heard
if you haven't got to play it yet,
I have not.
You got to put that on your list.
Well, that's another one I wanted, and when you want certain things, you go ahead and find them in the box and get them that way. So I picked up some loose shit from Norm, the gaming historian. We hung out for a little bit and talked at his table, and ended up I paid $100 for both of these. Basically, I overpaid for Double Dragon, and I underpaid for Sunset Riders. You know what I'm saying? To make it even again. Call them both $50, which is way under the bar on Sunset Riders and a little over the bar on Double Dragon. But this Super Double Dragon I had recently at Southern Fried Gaming Expo, which I was telling Andy this before we went live. There's a cat named Alex. Y'all need to check out a guy named Nintendo Enthusiast. No, I'm sorry, not Enthusiast. That's a great show too. I'm an idiot. It's Nintendo Arcade. Two words, Nintendo Arcade on YouTube. He owns one of, there's only two apparently. Nintendo made 11 machines called Sky Skipper at some point in the early 80s. And they were prototype machines. They actually had one in their lobby. There's a very long story. It's one of those historical like finds, like lost fucking game finds. Arcade machine called Sky Skipper. And
if I look like I just had a bowel movement that was painful, it's because I just died in a place that I shouldn't have.
Well, anyway, let me put a link. Let me see if
how did I botch that jump?
Here. Alex is his name, and he's from somewhere over across the pond, the UK over there. And he's got a right accent. You know, he talks like this. It's a little bit Cockney. My accent is probably awful, and that's probably racist. I'm not sure. But let's look up Alex's channel. I'm going to go ahead and link it here in the description. Anyway, I sold some stuff to him. I sold him a Chrono Trigger complete in the box. He was looking for some Super Nintendo stuff and a couple things that I had taken there when I was hanging out at Miguel's table. And we just got to talking, and turned out that he was the guy there because he was unveiling this brand new 35-plus-year-old discovery, basically, of Sky Skipper Arcade. A Nintendo game that was made and never really released. They had one for play for the employees in Seattle at Nintendo of America. But there's Alex's channel in the description. Click on it. Go sub to Alex. Go check out the Nintendo Arcade. His channel's awesome. And in fact, where's the Sky Skipper unveil? I'll just put that video in the link to why the fuck not. The Sky Skipper reveal. Here we go. Don't make any noise, damn thing. Good. Check that out too. Anyway, I had given him, at the end of the day, we were all hanging out there, and I had a couple more games in my little box of stuff that I hadn't sold and things that I had picked up at that con from Miguel. And he was talking about Double Dragon. We were all sitting there talking about Double Dragon, something blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, I was just like, you know what, man? You don't have this one, right? He's like, I don't. I was going to buy that from him. I was like, you know what? Take it with you, man. Have it. Take it across the pond. So I gave him my copy of Super Double Dragon. And then I was able to, again, send it, let it free, and it'll come back. And it came back. And that came from.
If you love it, set it free.
Exactly. So mine out, this copy of the Super Double Dragon and Sunset Riders are from Norm the Gaming Historian. So those will probably stay with me forever because they have a fucking greater story with them now. And then I picked up some things that I know Andy already has, like fucking Battletoads Double Dragon. I want to say I paid $100 even for this. It has a sticker for $120 on it, but it's very nice, very clean. I don't have this on the Nintendo.
God, is it bringing that much now?
That's what they were asking at that fucking show for it, man. Every place had it, and I definitely have a copy of it. I'm gonna find a box for that eventually, but again, I'll take it loose. Uncharted Waters, I picked that up. I've never played this, but I've heard good things.
Oh, I've heard great things about that.
It's a Koei role-playing game, and it's about pirates and shit, so that should be fun.
HBK just got a copy of that the other day and didn't pay but $1 for it. Some guy's collection, he didn't want it. And it looks killer. I've never played it.
Yeah, there's also one on Genesis. And Super
It's definitely my kind of game.
I picked up Shatterhand. I got some cool Jalico games, man. I call it Jalico. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced. Jalico. What do you want to call it?
No, it's Jalico.
Jalico. Shatterhand for Jalico from I want to say this came from Buzzy. I think I got this one from Buzzy and Jay at Bad Graphics. We hung out a little bit. I'll tell you the story. I decided to go down a little early. I didn't have a booth. They didn't have space for me. I was put on a waiting list to get a booth if I was going to go. Rebel Gaming Club, what's up, buddy? How you doing? I was hanging out with Dan. I met them at the front gate. When I went down like I basically drove all day Thursday, like night into Friday morning, and got there Friday morning and didn't have a booth, and tried to schmooze my way into getting a booth, which they didn't have any available, so it wasn't going to be possible. But the big box of games that I brought with me to maybe put on a table, if I got one, I ended up selling pretty much that whole box of stuff to one guy for like $1,600. I just took about $2,000 shit and gave it to him, and for $1,600, then I kept a couple things out that I went around and traded with the rest of the con, and to pick up this other stuff. So, long story short, I didn't even need a table after like the first couple of hours of Friday afternoon. So I hung out all day Friday and went and checked around town, like different little places, looking to make scores. Went to the different game stores in town, went to a couple Goodwills, and then I went to the con Friday night. It started Friday at 4 or whatever time it was. Started at Friday at 4 or something like that. So it started, and we went in and hung out there all day long, and went to bed. No, hold on. Yeah, Friday night was also the party too. We went to this after party and all this shit. And I tried to call Dan and the boys. I sent them some text messages. I sent him, and I talked to Abe and Eric and a couple other people. We all met up over there, but Dan and them never hit me back up. They, were shunning Captain Retro because he's a fucking dick. And they're like, fuck that fucking dick. We don't want to hang out with him. Maybe they were like that. I don't know. I'm just kidding. Anyway, we didn't end up seeing them again. I hung out with them when I initially walked into the con for the first day of it on Friday. We all were in line together hanging out. I kind of snuck into line where they had been waiting for a while, and jumped in with them, and that's where you see in my footage there. We're hanging out in the line, and didn't see him again. Friday I ended up partying.
Can you tell me something real quick?
Yeah.
How many minutes are we into this thing?
We are 26 minutes deep, bro.
Okay. So I've been playing this for 26 minutes.
Yeah, roughly 26 minutes here and there. Okay, so Dan's saying they went to bed early on Friday night. Well, Friday night we all went to this Screenwave Media after party thing, and I don't normally drink, and that's kind of my thing. I when I do drink, you better watch out. And I had like 4 beers, and next thing I know, I was pretty drunk, and I wandered my way back to my hotel room and passed out too at about like midnight. It was baby talk. And got up the next morning planning on being there all day long Saturday and having a fucking rip-roaring good time. And at like 11:30 Saturday morning, I got a phone call from my brother that I had forgotten to do some stuff. I was supposed to meet him on Sunday at like 8 o'clock in the morning to do this like charity stuff that he had worked on and been working on. So if I wanted to be there in time for that, I needed to leave Philadelphia at like 2 in the afternoon on Saturday to get home in time. So I ended up having to jet and not hanging out any longer than Saturday afternoon. But I had a really good time. I got to meet Angry Video Game Nerd, got to meet fucking Dan and the boys from Dan and Jordan and Ryan from Rebel Game Club. Sean Long, RGT85, he was there. Who else was there? Jay and Buzzy, obviously, we hung out a little bit at their table. And Walter, the guy that's another buddy of theirs that was working with them. Jay and Norm, the game historian, Jay from Game Chasers, fucking Angry Video Game Nerd. Mike Matei was sitting there. Mike Matai, however you say his name. Abe and Eric, and we just had a fucking good time, man. Like, again, I wish I could have stayed there longer. I feel like I missed out on so much having to come home on Saturday because, again, it went through Sunday. But shit happens, and I was able to pick up some cool stuff. So I got another. Let me go through the rest of this box here. I got a Pugsley Scavenger Hunt on Nintendo with the manual.
Oh, that's cool.
It's pretty rare title. A G.I. Joe that's hideous, torn up, ugly G.I. Joe. I paid $10 for this. But what a great game. It's hideous. I have G.I. Joe complete. You can't let it sit there. Even if it's torn up, I want it. Pinball Quest. Now, you know about me and my pinball. I'm going crazy for pinball.
I picked that one up not too long ago.
It's the world's first pinball fantasy RPG game, and another Jellicoe title that.
And who doesn't have fantasies about that?
Well, again, it's an RPG where you're the pinball and you're going around these different boards collecting points and leveling up and shit. So like that's kind of fucking neat idea. So let's see what that's like. I'm in. In fact, we'll go put it back in the box here. But yes, Wood ADGN was very, very cool in real life. Totally laid back guy. In fact, the last game I'll get to is something I bought from him. Okay, so I got Joe and Mac on Nintendo. Never had this on Nintendo, but I have the manual laying around here at the house, so I'm one step closer to having that. I don't have that one. Galaga, Demons of Death, which I did not have a working copy of.
How do I not have that? I don't have that.
Yeah, I didn't have a working copy. I have a shitty broken copy here that's not working. The Simpsons Bartman versus or meets Radioactive Man. I didn't have this. This is the last Simpsons game I needed for my Simpsons collection. Darkman, which I've never owned on the Nintendo.
Yeet, Darkman. Yeet.
Love the movie. Don't know about the game. I don't remember playing this at all as a kid. I bet we probably rented it, but I don't know.
I don't remember playing it. I remember the film. I don't know that I was really that into
If it was at Blockbuster, I bet we rented it, but I don't remember playing it. Another copy of King's Quest V. You can never have enough copies of King's Quest V in your life.
Oh, I don't have that one.
Well, see, you don't have a copy, and you need one. And finally, last but not least,
King's Quest historian.
The things I spent the most money on. He wanted $300 for this game sitting on the table, and it's the most hideous copy of Dragon Fighter you'll ever see in your life. But it's signed. I had him sign it. That's Angry Video Game Nerd there. James is what it says.
That's assuming I ever see another copy in my life.
Right. Well, this copy.
I think I can get it.
And whoever the video superstore is, you can all go fuck yourselves with your amazing skills.
I'm telling you.
Wrecking a game. So, but it belonged to James. It was one of his, and I had him sign it, and I ended up giving him $200 for it. He took $200 for it. So he took a.
Was he selling there? Did he have a booth and he was selling games?
He had about 30 things sitting in front of him, in front of his little area where he was signing autographs and doing his thing and stuff for sale, and like memorabilia from the show and stuff, that you could buy. And they all had their own little things. Like Pat had his, Pat the NES Punk was there, and he's got all his books. The guy that sells those Super NES compendium books, I forget his name, but he was a very fucking cool guy. Pixel Dan, one of those guys. Fucking very cool guys, man. Again, I have zero problem with anybody in the community, to be honest with you. I think if you do this, you have the balls to go and grab a camera and edit some shit and make a show. I do not hate on you. Please do your thing. Don't expect me to watch everything everybody makes, but like, I don't hate on anybody for doing it. You know what I mean? Like, even if it's not something I would watch, go ahead and fucking make whatever you want to make. This is America, and you're welcome to do whatever the fuck you want to do. You're free to do anything you want until your rights infringe upon mine, and that won't happen on YouTube. So,
I really try to stay caught up with our, especially the people on our immediate network, with everybody's stuff. It's hard to do sometimes, time's limited, but I really try to stay caught up on everybody's doings and episodes. And
yeah, I mean, I watch a lot of shit, dude. If I'm not on YouTube on my laptop or on my regular computer, it's on my phone. You know what I mean? Like, it's somewhere on me at all times, and I'm constantly clicking on things and watching stuff. And lately, it's been mainly pinball stuff, because I'm going pinball crazy over here. Oh, the last game I got actually is technically Kiss Pinball on the PS1 that I did not know existed either.
Yes.
There are 2 different pinball tables on here. And that's fucking awesome. Look at Gene Simmons got the ball in his mouth there. Like, yeah, get some.
Gene Simmons.
Hey, we just here to party. Just a couple old Jews here in New York ready to party.
Wolfman Robbie Hub does the best Gene Simmons you'll ever hear. And he used to call and leave prank messages on my phone telling me that I've infringed upon his rights playing Kiss music live and that I owed him royalties. This is Gene Simmons. You don't get phone calls from Gene Simmons.
Some people get phone calls from Gene Simmons. Knights in Service of Satan. I don't think that's what it really stands for.
No.
Woodbury and the cab is coming along. In fact, the main cabinet, the arcade cabinet that I'm working on, that I had my little sticker on there, is basically done. Like, I think I'm just going to slap my Xbox in there, and it's modded. It can play all those old games. And then I'm going to wire a controller, like take apart like an arcade fight stick, maybe 2 of them, and then just rewire them into the control panel so they actually, you can use the sticks there and see what happens.
Oh, I went the wrong way.
That'll be kind of neat, I think. Or, I mean, I could put that Pandora's. I just haven't ordered anything yet for it. It's just kind of sitting there doing nothing right now. The pinball machine has gotten ready. I've cleaned it all out and gotten everything out of the middle of it and getting ready to build bracing to hold the televisions and stuff in it. I got to film all that while I do it.
And again, it's just so everyone knows, I'm not experiencing intestinal discomfort. I'm trying to finish Bionic Commando in a timely fashion and not paying attention. and we regret any inconvenience this may have caused at this time. Why don't the trucks disappear after I've beaten them? We don't need them again. I don't need it to respawn.
The hardest part for what I'm doing right now on the virtual pinball machine is like computers. Like I don't know shit about PC, so I got to get a hold of a PC and tell it to send a signal to 3 different screens and wire up a board where I can have like an electronic signal taken from the plunger. There's a plunger they make for, you know, shooting the ball off that is a real plunger, but it sends, you know, it transfers it digitally into the digital world to plunge the ball off on the game. I don't know how it's going to work, but I'm watching all these videos on exactly, you know, here's what you download and here's how you do it. I'm like, well, I don't have a PC yet. Why am I watching all this? Because I can't stop. That's why. I'm in a damn wormhole, a pinball wormhole. But the real question of talking about stuff tonight was, on top of that, is I'm thinking about selling everything, dude. Like, I got in touch with Dave. I don't know if y'all know D and Dave. You watch D Dave show?
Yes.
D Dave.
I'm familiar with his work.
He put up some stuff on Facebook the other day saying that he and his partner, a buddy of his, are going to get financially back to open up their own retro shop, and he's looking to buy games. So it got me to thinking, like, I'm sitting on like a $30,000 video game bomb over here. You know, I wouldn't be adverse to dropping it for like 23. He could make $7,000 off of my stuff. You know what I mean? If I made 23 on it, I ain't got nearly that in it. You know what I mean? So
that's right.
We talked. I hadn't really given any numbers or really taken any really full steps into doing that. But that's the plan, is to dump it all. And then, like I said in that last video, maybe buy 3 or 4 or 5 pinball machines and get them out in the world and just see how that goes before the barcade gets opened up. That is definitely in the works as well.
Well, what's interesting about the whole concept is that, have you ever thought about what it would be like to start over? And what I mean by that is I always envy people that just get their first copy of Skyrim. It's like, you're about to experience something that I can never experience again. The beginning of that, your first time. Now, with collecting, you can start over if you do what you're talking about. If you sell it all and start over again, the adventure starts over again.
Yeah, and again, the other half of this is,
to a degree, that's kind of neat.
My adventure for collecting home console shit has been over for quite some time, to be honest with you. For about a year now, I've basically had everything I've ever wanted, and unless I hear something random that I didn't know about that I have to have, which doesn't happen often, or something I can't afford, you know what I mean? Like Snatcher. Like I've played it. I've got it on emulator. It's, you know what I mean? You have my copy of Snatcher right now, and you haven't played it. But when you play it, you're going to want a real copy of Snatcher. Just know that. Just know that's what happens when you play Snatcher. But I'm not going to. I will not pay $500 for a game. So that's just, it will not happen. Like, I never thought I'd pay over $100 for a game in my life that wasn't a brand new collector's edition, you know, limited edition, something, you know what I mean? It had to be, there had to be a reason that $100 was coming out of my pocket. And then I gave the Angry Video Game Nerd $200 for an ugly fucking Nintendo game the other day. But that was more for the story of having an Angry Video Game, a rare game that belonged to the AVGN.
Yeah, I mean, that's some bucket list stuff right there.
Apparently a very fun game, too. You can turn into a dragon in it. Okay, I'm sold. Dragon Fighter.
You know, people told me for years that I needed to watch that guy, and I never got around to it. And everyone said, I swear to God, you and this guy must have been separated at birth. You got to watch this Angry Video Game Nerd. Hey, have you heard of the Angry Video Game? Hey, have you heard of the... Yes, I've heard of him. I haven't watched it. Jesus. No, this was years ago. I finally buckled down and said, all right, I'm going to watch the guy, and wasn't prepared for how much that I really liked it. I mean, he's just hilarious to me. I know he maintains that it's a character, but I don't really believe that. I really believe that that's him in there.
I mean, there's a lot of him in there, I'm sure. You know what I mean?
Well, you know I'm not a character. This is how I am.
No, you were very similar in real life. I will say that again. When I met him in real life, it was like meeting Andy again. He's very Andy. Very funny.
But yeah,
I first saw him, I thought it was
just great.
You know, we weren't even hanging out when I first watched Angry Video Game, it was probably like 06, 07, 08, when I started watching that shit when I was working at the mortgage company. And I thought, this guy is fucking Andy Murray. How the fuck does he know who Andy Murray is? And how did he do such a spot on imitation of him? When he's mad.
But he's mad. But I get mad a lot too. I'm very high strung. And I shouldn't be, but I am.
You do, but
oh, what a jump! Made it first time. That's going to be a time saver. I'm on Area 7. We're about to rescue Super Joe here.
Time we are at. Let's see here. I'm off the page right now.
Please be less than 40.
We're at 40 exactly. 39, 42.
I should be at the end of the game right now. I'm not.
Oh man,
I'm close.
God damn.
But close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. So
it does. Woodbury, Kevin Hall, any guys? Y'all got any questions for us out there in YouTubeville? Let's take some questions here at the end of the thing. Robert, you got any questions? I'm snapping the scissors. I don't know if you can hear that. I'm sure you can hear that. My microphone's impressive. It's annoying. Quit messing around with stuff and be annoying.
God, why won't this guy die?
Will I miss the games or have I enjoyed them enough? Again, I have always been a catch and release gamer in the sense of if I love it, I'll keep it. This Zelda shelf up here is a lot of my stuff that has been with me for quite some time. And it keeps growing and changing too. But most of the box stuff you see is been around for a while. RoboCop or Rambo for the NES. God damn, they're both terrible.
Well, are we asking questions about those games? Because I'd like to weigh in.
Rebel Gaming Club is asking RoboCop or Rambo for the NES.
Have one and not the other. Which one do I pick?
I guess if you're gonna have to play one,
Rambo.
I would say Rambo as well, but they're both shit on the NES.
Now, nothing against RoboCop. It's a great port from the arcade version that I played a lot of when it was in the arcades. But Rambo is very special to me. I'm a big Stallone-iac.
I don't like that you can't jump in RoboCop. Yeah, you can't jump in the NES RoboCop, and you can in the arcade game of it, and that's not cool. Why would you take that out?
That's true.
And he barely uses his gun.
But, yeah, even though Rambo is knife fighting a flamingo and a spider, and that there's no real explanation for why that's happening.
No. It does have.
It's a cool game.
It's got 8-bit Colonel Troutman. I like that.
Yeah. It follows the movie except for the part where the spider comes out and he's knife fighting flamingos. Other than that, it's spot on.
Yeah, it took that from It, the television version of It. Just put a spider in there.
Just put a spider.
The rival schools, how much do I want? I don't. It's not. I mean, it is for sale, but it's not for sale. I got that from Hob. I don't know.
Hobby Hob.
Again, like the stuff that I sell online, you don't see sitting behind me. None of the shit behind me is for sale online. The stuff that's over to the left of me over here and the stuff that's out in the garage is where I keep all my like stock that's not something I'm putting on my shelf. You know what I mean? I do take a lot of this stuff with me to the Palooza and to the different cons and stuff, because then I'll get, I'm not necessarily going to go top dollar, but I'm not going to pay fucking Amazon $10 on a $100 game. You know what I mean? Fuck them. I'll take that $100. So I'll make cash on certain deals. You know what I mean? The good stuff goes with me to the conventions that I do want to sell, and otherwise it stays here at the house, and you don't know that I have it until I tell you about it. Let's see. Murr is God Wars going to be a collectible game? And Dr. Pest, yes,
it will be. All those NIS titles are available for a while, and the life cycle is pretty quick on them in that you'll see some Amazon price drops. They're often, and then they're just not. Because they don't sell well, and the copies are just there. But eventually they are all gone, and it's not like a limited run thing like what they do, but eventually available new because it's not cost effective to have any more copies out there. That's when those really start jumping, and those weird niche JRPG titles, yeah, they do end up being valuable. And most of those, they usually offer premiums. I mean, that one they didn't, but in many cases there's a physical collector's edition for those available at no extra cost to you when you buy it from the retailer, or a little bit extra if you buy it. So they almost make sure that it is collectible, or at least has the means to be. That's why they're always day one purchases for me, because I don't want to be the one that doesn't get his copy. more than retail later on.
Are you going to be a day oneer on the Super Nintendo Classic?
Yes. I've got agents that enforce on that. They will make sure that
I
get what I need.
You only have the one NES Classic, right?
Yes.
That you played. So
right.
I have ended up selling every one that I got. I even sold the European one that I got. Fuck it.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, fuck it. I swear to God, in 2 years, you'll see a billion of those sitting around places, man.
Chances are good because you got to think how many people bought them that are not freaks like we are about it. And
you also think of how many resellers bought them and are sitting on piles of them that they still haven't sold for fucking $300. So in 2 years, they'll be dumping all that shit again. You watch. Uh-oh. Anger.
You know what? If I'm going to continue, this is a good place to do it, but I shouldn't be continuing. I could one-life this freaking game. This is so stupid.
Dr. Pest, yes, I have looked at locations for the barcade. I am planning on at the moment, Decatur, Georgia is where we're looking. Atlanta, like southeast Atlanta, Decatur area is where the younger kids are at. The Little Five and beyond area over there, Little 5 Points spot. And yes, you can smoke in local bars, but that you will not be smoking in my pinball hall. So fuck you. You will not be smoking in my arcade.
Well, that's good that you're going to enforce that kind of stuff because you don't want any kind of substance abuse to abuse your systems or anything.
No, man, and drinks are one thing, and all the machines nowadays, there are cup holders built into pinball machines. They have things they can slide onto the legs of them and do that, and drinks are one thing, and a spilled drink I can handle. You pop the glass off and clean that shit up real quick. But fucking cigarette smoke doesn't go away, and I'm a smoker. You know what I mean? Like I embarrassed myself beyond all belief at Retropalooza with the amount of stink that I created from my box of games for sale.
Oh God.
Like it embarrassed me half to death. I popped the box and it smelled like some 90-year-old woman, smoking woman's fucking house that she had never left. And I was like, this is horrifying. And thank God within the 8 hours that it sat out there in the open in the room that the smell dissipated a good bit. But I guarantee that somebody's got a game that they took home that they bought from Captain Retro that smelled like cigarettes. And I'm sorry. And I'm embarrassed for that. So use dryer sheets. Dryer sheets will get the smell out. You have to let it sit in it for a day or two and put it in the box and shit. That'll get the smell of cigarettes out. But that will not be happening.
Also, coffee grounds are really good. If you put some coffee grounds in there.
Schaeferman, what's going on, buddy? How are you? Dan's asking if Rygar holds up. Oh, somebody asked us our favorite NES games too. What's my favorite NES game? Right now it changes. Right now it's Nightshade, which is a point and click noir comedy thriller puzzle game, and I love it. But Maniac Mansion is always in my top 5. I'm a big fan of point and clicks. That one's up there. King's Quest V is up there. I'm a weirdo. I like weirdo games.
Rygar holds up if you're okay with the game never having an end. There's no end to Rygar. And if anyone tells you there is an end to Rygar, they're just kidding you because they've never seen the end of Rygar. Nobody has. There's no end to Rygar.
I'm also digging Rockin' Cats right now. I fucking love this game. Super awesome and totally an underrated gem on the machine, although it is more expensive than most of the underrated. I mean, it's less expensive, but it is more expensive than a hidden gem that's cost free. It costs a good bit. It's $120, $150 game, something like that in the box. Let's see here. Castlevania. Oh, dude, the new Castlevania series. Andy, have you seen it yet?
New as in what did I miss?
It's on Netflix. New Castlevania. Oh my God, you're missing Castlemania. See, we're talking about Castlevania, and there's Castlemania games. What's up, buddy? How are you? Cool logo. It's Captain Retro approved. I'm digging it, man. It's a 4-episode series right now. They only put out 4 episodes of the first season, and it is a blend. It seems to me to be a blend of Castlevania 3 and Symphony of the Night, like storyline kind of shit going on. And it's its own thing though too. It's completely its own thing. So, spoiler alert. It's amazing. There's your spoiler. You watch.
Spoiler alert, I'm no longer as good at Bionic Commando as I used to be.
We are
a good game recommendation. Play Bionic Commando.
49 minutes deep, and you are still not beating it yet. That's where's your game go, buddy? Where'd your game go? I'm telling you, these games are making us weak, son. Our retro skills are down the drain because of all this.
Oh, I know. I'm not happy about it.
Tell me, Rygar on the Nintendo doesn't have an ending? I thought it has an ending.
I'm sure it does, but nobody alive's ever seen it. No mortal man can achieve such a thing. And if they tell you they have, you're speaking to a god or a liar. And the latter is more probable. I have played to the highest height and the deepest depth of Rygar, and I can tell you there's no end to this game. You go and you go and you go until you're all the way at the top of this, in the sky at this cloud, and there's nowhere to go. You can go all the way back to the beginning of the game, too, and it doesn't matter. I didn't miss anything. There's no end to it. And I said that day, I said, I will play Rygar no more forever. I enjoyed the ride, but there was no end.
So it's not...
It'd be like if a roller coaster got to the very top and just stopped and said, okay, get out. And I was like, but I can't. I'll die.
I had that with Karnov. I used to play Karnov all the time, and I don't think I've ever beaten it because it got tougher and tougher as you went.
Yeah, I got close on Karnov. I can't say that I've beat Karnov.
Castlevania Games is saying you can watch people speedrun Rygar on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, but you got to wonder about the legitimacy of all speedruns. And me getting into speedruns has called that into question. I can't believe some of the things I'm seeing. People playing Double Dragon and killing people with one punch. It's like, come on, you've played that game. You know that's not possible. Don't give these people credit. It does it, they legit does it. But there's a lot of dadgum emulating cheat BS out there, and they put it up on YouTube because they know people don't know any better, and they're going to click it, and I'll beat Double Dragon in 1 minute. Anyone with have a brain knows you didn't, but they're still going to click it, and you're still going to get the YouTube. God, YouTube is a slimy, smelly place, I'm going to tell you. It's just like the rest of the internet. So slimy.
Well, again, there's a lot of LCD on here. There's a lot of lowest common denominator and a lot of trash to weed through to get to the gold. So, but I think that's anything in life, man. Fucking cable TV is the same way. You know, there's a whole lot of bullshit on channels, and there's one good show every now and then. So, same thing with people on this. The world is the same. 1 in 4 people are retarded, and the other half are just as dumb. and they like stupid shit. Let's see, Dr. Pest, that's funny. Coffee grounds is how you mask the smell of drugs when you're snuggling them. When you're smuggling them is what you meant, but I like that you put snuggling because I snuggle drugs.
Well, I don't know anything about that, but I will tell you that I had a storage bag for an NES that somebody must have kept their cigarette in because it stunk to high heavens. And we tried the coffee ground trick, and it worked. I mean, I left it in there in my hot garage for about a week.
Yeah.
And when I came back, it still had a little scent left in it, but it was more mocha than anything. I was glad.
Yes, they have confirmed season 2 already for the Castlevania thing. So I'll give you a rundown. The first 4 episodes, man. The first one, within the first 10 minutes, you'll either fall in love or you'll hate it.
We're going to co-op sell something right now. Watch this. So I'm playing Bionic Commando right now and trading for my speed run. And if you don't have this game, Captain Retro will sell you a copy. How many Bionic Commandos do you have there?
At least 3, if not 4. Later, Woodbury.
There you go. One-stop Bionic Commando shop. Come on. Come on.
Somebody needs one?
Yeah! If you could see the monumental jump that I just wrote, I mean, God, you do not just start. One does not simply start this game and make a jump like that.
It's been a minute since I played that, but that was always one of my more favorite games on the NES too. Even though it was super difficult, it's fun. It is fun.
Well, a lot of people don't even understand the lineage of it. It's actually a sequel to Commando.
Yeah. You're going after Super Joe. You're rescuing.
Yeah.
Game. I know.
It's just because it's a completely different game, but I mean the lineage is there, and I mean the ending is amazing, and You'll even get choked up a little bit. And the fact that the franchise has stayed so true to itself, even stretching into the 360 era with Bionic Commando, Rearmed, and other games like that. I mean,
Woodbury,
I love it.
Woodbury claims Mary totally beat Rygar. Is Mary his wife? His daughter? What's going on there? Gotta go, fellas. And Mary.
Beyonce, yes. And I recalled him saying that, and I paused a minute. I wasn't sure I heard him right, so I just kept going in his video. I was like, surely he didn't say that. We've got to get this man able to stream
and then have that.
See that.
I want to see it too.
I'm just saying, I've got to see it. It's one of those things, like you said, I've got Bigfoot and he's living in my closet. I'm going to ask you to show me. I believe you, but I got to see it.
Jay Arbello from New York City. What's up, buddy? How are you? Stephen Markole, what's going on? How are you, sir? Bionic Commando City. What's that? Bionic Commando City. Tyler, I'm not sure what you're talking about. You're not
the place I want to move to. But yeah, if she beat Rygar, then she is amongst an elite rank of gamers. I mean, that's not anything to mess with if you've done that. It's truly just an unbelievable feat.
I'll say this, I've never seen or known anyone that could beat Rygar. So.
I enjoyed the ride, but it didn't go anywhere.
In fact, do I even have a fucking Rygar?
And Rygar is another one that continued its lineage on through the years. You know, there was Rygars on PS2, on the Wii.
There's one on the 360, right?
I don't remember. I think they have the actual arcade version that you can get on the 360. I don't think they did an actual. I could be wrong about that.
I do. I have 2 Rygars. At least. Here's a Karnov. I love some fucking Karnov. Karnov is also a spinoff game, and do you know what game it came from? Do you know who Karnov is?
I know that Karnov's been in many things, so that's all I can tell you. I see him in all. I mean, he made an appearance. Okay, Joe, you destroy the power source. I'll meet you there, buddy.
I also picked up the Incredible Crash Test Dummies on the NES. I've never played this game, and it's kind of rare as well. I found this at a thrift store on the way home from Philadelphia.
But you got to finish telling us about Karnov.
Oh, well, I was going to leave that out. That was the question. Here we go. What is Karnov a spinoff from? Does anyone in the comments section know where Karnov came from? In my latest video, what are Xbox 360 joysticks you're looking for? I guess I would like to have a couple of the arcade fight sticks, you know, the Street Fighter 2 fight sticks, whatever they made that came out as a fight stick that I could pull apart and use as the control panel on a arcade machine. You know, swap the guts into the control panel board. Yes, Castlemania is right. He's a Data East lead character. Ty Lord Stevenson says he comes from bad dudes. Is Ty Lord Stevenson right? You tell me.
I used to have the Tiger LCD game of Karnov. I used to play it a lot.
He was a final boss in a fighter's history game. Yeah, Bad Dudes. I guess Bad Dudes versus the Dragon Ninja or whatever is one of the games he was in. That was.
Yeah, he was in Bad Dudes.
He always kind of looked like a small version of Abobo to me from Double Dragon, but I guess that's a completely different company. But they look very similar in their bit shapes.
Oh God! Why do I always do that?
Did you know that Karnov is possibly related to Shantae? There's a rumor going. It's true. She might be his dead father, or he might be her father. So.
I was going to say I can't fathom how that would work out, but okay.
Sorry.
Yeet.
In Shantae in the Pirate's Curse, there's a scene where this like ghost character helps her out, and he looks very similar to Karnov, and it's implied to be her dead father, the ghost of her father, helping her out. Anyway,
wonder who Karnov got the donkey butt with to have Shantae.
I don't know.
Had purple hair.
Roddy.
But Karnov was bald, so we don't know that he didn't have purple hair in his younger years.
Roddy.
We need a Karnov prequel so we know what color his hair was.
I need a Roddy Tops porno. Is that just me? Am I gross like that? That's what I need.
I were electrifying the dude and getting Master D out of the tank here. We're about to take on the Albatross.
Yes, dude. I found you a Pac-Man. You got Tengen Pac-Man for Nintendo? I gave you a box, right?
No, that's the one I need to go in that box. I've got the gray one.
I found this motherfucker.
Sweet.
So now you can have that. Hooray! And it looks pretty.
That'll make that complete.
It's a Tengen, and you gotta fuck up the sticker to take these apart. So I have not taken it apart, but I did clean it, and it looks good. I have not tested it yet, but I cleaned it. I cleaned what I could with the old credit card technique, and the T-shirt.
Right.
But I'm sure it'll power right up. It looks very clean. So if I do sell all of my stuff, like I said, I'd like to get like a little bundle of cash and a brand new Ghostbusters. I really just want a brand new Ghostbusters pinball machine for myself, just so I could play it every day and just be like, listen and love this thing. And I would, honest to God, it would be worth that to get
Albatross
to sell
down.
off. You know what I mean? To sell off a bunch of this shit, nice. To get a pinball machine, I don't really have room. That would be something I'd want to keep in the house, and I really have nowhere in here to put it. It wouldn't be something I'd want to put up in the garage and just let it sit out in the garage. Being especially a brand new one. But the other ones I'd buy like 5, for 10 grand, let me go get 5 $2,000 pinball machines that are, already out and play in the world and just see what kind of money they make putting them out on a route at a couple different bars. I'm in Georgia at Castlemania Games. I don't know if you're asking me that. We are both in Georgia.
But only one of us just
Karnovsky is a Russian ex-circus strongman who can also breathe fire. The whole strongman gig wasn't paying the bills, so Karnov has taken up the far more lucrative profession of freelance treasure hunter and monster slayer. D-Dave, I don't know if they're still making videos or not, but Dave is talking about opening up his own shop, and he's up in Chicago. He apparently has a partner with some financial backing, and they're talking about opening up their own retro shop up there. So I want to go dumpster dive at their retro shop. That's my plan. Go film a dumpster diving at D-Dave's. That's what they, got big on, is jumping in people's dumpsters. Yes, Retro Nobody. That Ghostbusters machine is effing gorgeous. And honestly, if you haven't seen it, go online right now. You can stop watching us. I don't care. Go look at gameplay of that Ghostbusters pinball machine and listen to the sounds and the fucking music. Oh my God, it's amazing. And on top of that, I also want a Metallica one. Look up the Stern Metallica pinball machine. It will blow your fucking mind. It plays like Blackened and Master of Puppets, and it's kicking your ass, and it sounds so amazing when you're playing that game, and fucking Metallica's coming through it. Like, it's right. You know what I mean? Like, there's something about pinball. And I know I veered off into pinball like 3 times.
What's your time? I'm sorry, I got to interrupt you. What's your time?
We are at an hour and 2 minutes.
Well,
are you
not
beating
under
it?
An hour, but
you almost beat it.
No, I'm done. It's over.
All right.
I got to get that down, man. 41 minutes I could do it in.
I mean,
an hour? That's unacceptable.
Under an hour is fucking incredible. So, anyway, I was going to, pinball. That's what I was going to talk about. The history, I don't know who out here cares about pinball. There would be no video, there would be no arcade, there would be nothing without pinball. Pinball started as a super rich person's game called Bagatelle that was like basically like pool. Like, the whole thing of like pool started out on a lawn. Fucking super rich people back in, the 1700s had lawns, and they were the ones that had lawn games and, stuff like croquet and, I forget what the original name of pinball was, but they set up these pins out in the yard, and they had these rolly balls, and they would roll them into the pins. And eventually that got transferred into billiards, like the actual game of billiards. And the reason that felt is green on a billiards table is because it simulates grass of a nobleman's land, because owning land was like the fucking thing back then. And anyway, peasants would have these, tables inside that were to represent a small version of the rich man's game out in the yard. And that turned in, translated and moved and came around, and different people made different things and became bagatelle, which was like you would take a pool cue and hit a ball on a table on like a slightly inclined surface and hit this ball up into these pins, kind of like pachinko, and watch the ball bounce around and fall into certain holes for certain points.
Pachinko is neat. I like that.
Right. And anyway, that eventually somebody fucking put a plunger on one of these things and made it smaller and put a glass top on it so they could make a penny every time and put it in a bar. You know what I mean? Like you pull the plunger and the ball shoots up and rackets around and it just drops in a certain hole and you get some points and you had a good day. And they were sometimes redemption machines too. And that's kind of where the legalities came into play in the early 30s, the 1930s, about, you know, people running them as gambling machines. This is a machine of luck and not a machine of skill, so it's a gamble, and you know, this is outlawed. So pinball became like the fucking outlaw game, and it was still being made. You know, it was made and based in Chicago, where Al Capone and all his homeboys were doing their shit in the 30s, and it was considered a vice, and people who played pinball were, you know, hooligans, and hung around pinball halls were, you know, scumbag little delinquents. And
it should be noted very quickly before you continue that, I don't know if you can see this or not, but the year that Super Joe signs off in his diary at the end is August the 2nd, 2010, because it's way in the future when he's telling this story.
Right.
Like 7 years ago. Sorry, Super Joe.
2010. Nice. 8/2/2010.
That used to sound so futuristic, like 2010, we'd have rockets coming out of our ass and stuff. Like, no.
No, dude, we don't need.
Still suck.
People suck. We don't need flying cars. They can't drive on the street. I don't want them flying around me.
But I'm sorry. Go ahead. I just said
it's okay.
And now you all know I did officially, and I technically did beat that in under an hour because I started up a few minutes after this video started. So technically it was under an hour, but I don't get much credit for that. When my time is 41 minutes to beat, I've got to get down to my 41 minutes again. That's literally almost 20 minutes of time.
That's, I mean, shaving money, shaving it, shave that clock, baby. I want to see it.
I got to do my Double Dragon speed run too. My time on that is 19 minutes, and I can't remember. I think it's 19 minutes and 6 seconds. We need to shave that down.
Time runs like include the loading screens and all that shit.
I suppose you can include those if they're in them, because well, I mean, you have no choice but to include those once you're like right in the middle on the burn.
That's what I'm saying. Like, is that like if you're doing a Ninja Gaiden time, you know?
Yeah, I don't stop the clock during that. I just let it run.
Right. But do you shave that time off later when it's like shit you can't control, like loading screen 4 seconds? You know, loading screen.
People might. I mean, I don't, because that would be a lot of clock starting and stopping, and then you get into fair starts.
I would think you would run the clock the whole time, and then everybody knows exactly how long that cutscene runs, and then you just subtract, you know, the cutscene.
Right, because then you have a variable. If everyone starts and stops every time there's a cutscene, you got to punch the clock at the end. If nobody's playing NES Remix, they need to be playing NES Remix on the Wii U, because that'll make a man out of you real quick. You'll learn how good you are at those games or how bad, and it'll really drive you to speed run all those great classic NES titles. I mean, it's just an amazing product. Can be yours for the low introductory rate of $20. You should pick up a copy today.
Okay, Castlemania says he count the cutscenes. He also says, where did skeet ball come from? And skeet ball is a hip hop term, I believe. Skeet. You are thinking of skee ball with no T on the end. Skeet ball is skeeting all over the windows and the walls, according to Little John.
Wow, yeah.
Anyway.
I won Bubba in the game of skee ball. That's where he came from.
So in the 30s, basically, lots of pinball was outlawed and banned, and there's old pictures of Mayor LaGuardia from New York, like smashing pinball machines with a sledgehammer and getting rid of them. And they were like the underground thing, like, you know, it's illegal to do this. But some cities had different jurisdictions on it, and people in 1973 or 4, something like that, Roger Sharp, who is a pinball wizard, had to go before like a New York State court, Supreme Court thing, and like prove that he could call his shot on a pinball machine. and be like, okay, I got the ball cradled here, and I want to hit this target over here. So bang, I hit that target, and then I catch the ball over here with this flipper, and then I'm gonna get it to rattle up here, and the bouncers and come back around to this ramp. And like by the second thing he did, the judge was like, yeah, it's a fucking game of skill. Fucking get this out of here. Quit calling it a damn gambling device. So pinball had its first real like boom again since the 30s in the 70s. And then in the late 80s, it happened again. And in the mid to late 90s, it had the third, like the golden age of pinball is considered the late 90s, the 1990s. And we are only how far removed from that? 17 years roughly from the 1990s. And I honestly feel like it's going through its first real resurgence into modern popularity culture. You know what I mean? Like there are pinball leagues and pinball squads, and more every day I see something else about pinball this, and this is happening, and this is coming, and we got this coming to this place, and barcades opening left and right that are specifically focused on pinball. And the thing with pinball is everything's virtual nowadays. You know, you got your fucking iPhone, and you got all these fucking virtual games, and you got virtual this, and I got a headset for that. And a pinball is a mechanical.
Yeah, that doesn't cut it for me. I mean, those may be fun to play. I'm not saying you can't play those, but that's definitely not something to recreate. It can't. There's no replacement.
Right. Well, and there are virtual pinball tables, and that's what I'm kind of building right now is a virtual pinball machine. But it's not the same thing, and it's not.
What I mean is, I can't put in the Gottlieb collection on my PS2 or Crew Ball and expect that oh wow, you know, this is so much better than a pinball machine.
Right. But I
gotta have the machine.
It's visceral versus virtual, and there's a visceral. You can touch it, you can manipulate it. You're nudging it. You're in sync with this fucking machine that is random. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen with that ball every time. You might think you've got a good idea of what's going to happen, but you got to be on your fucking toes. And it is all about lightning quick reactions and knowing where things are going to happen and where you want them to happen in the future, and setting up shots and setting up, you know. Like layers of the thing. Like you got to get this thing 3 times before that 5th one will start off over here. But if the 5th one gets hit before the 4th one does, then this could happen. You know what I mean? Like you got to know the rules. And pinball machines, I don't know what it is about arcades in general that have always attracted me, but I would say it's the pinball machine really that has made me, that as a child made me want to play video games. Pinball machines, the noise, the clacking, the sounds. I just vividly remember playing pinball more than I vividly remember playing arcade games per se at Mardi Gras. I was at the Theater of Magic machine. I was at the fucking High Speed. What's the one with the? Is it High Speed? I think it's one with the 2 red lights in the front. You're running from the cops in the pinball game. Like Chase HQ, possibly something like that for pinball. But I remember playing that and Gorgar and Pinbot and like just loving pinball machines. And it's really reawakened in the last year. Ever since.
You ought to hear what pinball machines have to say about you.
They probably don't like me because I'm
well, I tell you what, I've run out of time on my end. I'm sure you've got some more to cover, but I've enjoyed being included in the talk here.
Yeah, man.
And I have definitely not enjoyed knowing that I'm still at an hour on my Bionic Commando times, and we need to get this back to the 90s times. So I promise I'll continue to work on that.
These are all duplicates. Yeah, they're just duplicates. They're not variants. Sorry, Castlevania games. Yeah, okay, that's enough. I'm just blathering on and on about pinball and the history. But guys, go find a pinball area. Go find an arcade in your area and go fucking spend some quarters and play. And let's bring the.
Oh, I won't lie. You've made me want to play one. It's been a long time since I've had my hands on one. Long time.
If you have one near you, go play one. Go look on. There's a website called pinside.com. I'm gonna put it in the chat. And just go on there and look in your area. There's a map on there where you can find people that have, you know, what bar has what game in your area. If somebody in your area has been on Pinside and put it in there, then you can find a map that shows you where this, you know, like, boop. There's a place 3 hours from my house. There's a place 10 minutes from my house that has 4 pinball machines, and you can go there and play them. And just let's bring it back. Let's bring back the fucking arcade and the whole, like, this whole sitting at home and playing by ourselves bullshit. You play pinball with multiple people, and it's a group thing, and it's fun. And you get 4 people on one machine, and you're going at it. It's a whole new ball game of video game and social activity, and just, you know what I mean? Like it's it really does the best job of bridging both things. And especially these new machines, some of these new machines, the things they can do, and the just incredible. So I'll stop talking. Murr, thank you so much for joining me, man. We went for a long time tonight. This is our first over an hour podcast that we've done. Thank you guys for watching and being in the stream. Dr. Pest, the Retro Nobody, Castlemania Games. I think Murr's already cut out. He must have hung up on me. He said,
no,
he's still there. Okay, good. We will do this again hopefully next week. We get some time to put together another little chat session for everybody. And again, I thank y'all for sticking around.
And we will see you again next time.
Most definitely.